Welcome to the Prosperity Podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to drop the hustle and earn more. I'm your host, Danielle Amos, business and success coach, certified Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant, and lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I'll bring you amazing entrepreneurs who have built wealth, harnessing the power of their mind. Prosperity and money are truly about energy, and I'm on a mission to help you create financial abundance through the power of thought. It's time we started normalizing conversations about money and create the wealth that is yours. Are you ready? Let's do this. Welcome to episode 142 of the Prosperity Practice, the podcast that has you living your most abundant life. My name is Danielle Amos, and I am your host. Today, I have a very special guest for you. Her name is Anna Lozano, and she is a powerhouse global entrepreneur. She has success in network marketing. She comes from a corporate background. Now she is a coach, a mentor, and a leader in network marketing. And she's also a mother. I have met her through a friend and recently have been able to spend quite a bit of time with her. You might know her from her affirmation cards. She's a co-founder of the company called Love Powered Co. Does that ring a bell? Beautifully made affirmation cards. She'll tell you more about her story in the interview in just a few minutes. She is incredible. Like, you're going to love her energy, and we have a really great conversation, and it kind of goes all over the place, from leadership, coaching, healing sisterhood wounds, being like programmed to overwork and overdo and then find a new feminine way. It's a really fascinating conversation. I actually met her through Healy, which is a new device that I've been using. It's a frequency device that measures your vibrational frequency and then emits a frequency for you to calibrate to. It's fascinating. She actually talks about it at the end of the interview. So I've included links in the show notes if you're interested in hearing more about it. And Anna, if you stay to the very end, she also talks about a freebie that she's offering just for our listeners here on money. So enjoy this interview. You're going to love her. Go find her on Instagram, and all the links are in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. And if this resonates with you, please help us share it. We'll be so thankful, and give us a 5-star review. Thank you for being here. I'm honored. Enjoy the interview with Anna. All right. Today I have a very special guest joining me here on the Prosperity Practice. Her name is Anna Lozano, and she is an entrepreneur. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I've recently had the opportunity to get to know her through a friend, my friend Celeste, and I've been blown away watching her on social media. And I knew of her before through her affirmation cards. You might know them, Love Powered Co. And in fact, we not only use them with Eloise, my best friend Jake introduced them to us, and they're also included in the watch that we give to our private clients. So I thought that there was such a cool synchronicity when I met Anna in person. So I'm really happy to bring her here, and I'll let her share her story about where she's come from. And I invite you in this conversation to be like a fly on the wall, like you normally do. So 2 women leaders, conscious leaders, coming together to have a conversation about whatever comes up today. And we know that you'll find value in it.
Thank you so much for having me. And I mean, the more we get to know one another, the more synchronicities and the more alignment comes up, which is so beautiful. So I was raised in a very Polish immigrant household. We came to Canada when I was 6 years old. And, you know, the programming really was to follow the traditional path and study hard, get good grades, find that safe and secure job and corporate, and then eventually retire with a pension. So as a good little girl, that's exactly what I did. And I went to Ivy Business School, graduated with honors, and then got into corporate marketing for one of the biggest CPG firms in Toronto. And I was there for 2 years. And one day I just looked around in the cubicle. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, this is the dream, but it doesn't feel like the dream. And I remember just putting my hands up and surrendering and saying, like, what am I here for? What is my purpose? And really early on in my years, I remember reading Richard Branson's autobiography. And that was like a glimpse into entrepreneurship where, I wasn't surrounded by entrepreneurs. My family's not a family of entrepreneurs, but it was just this connection to this freedom of creating something out of nothing and bringing it to the world that planted that first seed for me. And then I went completely different direction. And so I was actually introduced to network marketing within 3 weeks of surrendering. And, being a business grad and a corporate professional, I didn't have any ideas. I was very open. I didn't have preconceived, opinions about the industry. And so what I did is I treated that business like a business. And within 4.5 years, I was at the top of that company. And that became my evidence of I am a good entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. I love working with women. And it was also, so I look at network marketing as an industry as the gateway into entrepreneurship and the gateway into personal development. And as you start, growing as an entrepreneur, everything seems to just rise to the surface. And so this is where I was faced consciously with all of the things standing in the way of every next level that I desired to reach. And I was introduced to You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. And I remember the woman who introduced me to it. We were on a flight to a conference and I said, wow, like this is mind-blowing information, but I can't afford it. And it was, that CD program, I believe it was $600 at the time. And I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my hands on this program. And I did. I ended up paying her $50 a month until it was fully paid off. And I just dove in. I was such a student at heart. And my mind was blown. Like, I don't know if you remember that program, but he's wearing his brown suit and he's diving into the subconscious programming that might be standing in the way that we just don't even know that it's happening behind the scenes. And it blew my mind. And so I became a student of Bob Proctor's. I became a student of all of these greats that came before us and their work, and really started diving deeper into reprogramming and rewiring. And a lot of my work has been around money and wealth and abundance. As I mentioned, being born in Eastern Europe through communism, there's a lot in my cells, and a lot of ancestral work that's had to been done. But this has been a 13-year journey of doing the work consciously and constantly being blown away, because there's constantly another layer that we can unfold and tap into. And so then I became a mom, and as I did, I remember one day just sitting on like in my basement in Oakville, Ontario, and we were having a play date. Our kids running around. Well, mine was 9 months old. She was crawling around, and my business partner and I looked at each other. She wasn't my business partner at the time. And we said, wow, like what if we raised our kids on these principles of affirmations and mindfulness and gratitude, rather than them having to do the work like we are? I don't know if I could swear, but I would always say, we're here unfucking ourselves, but they're these perfect, clean slates. And so what if we just programmed them with these concepts, these tools, these modalities? And so we got to work, and within 9 months, we launched Love Powered Co. And we scaled that company over 6 years. And then we had a beautiful collaboration with Jillian Harris in 2021 post-COVID. Or actually, I guess in the middle of it. And then it led us to the opportunity to sell the company, which we officially did December 31st, 2022. And then in the process, a lot of women were coming to me, product-based entrepreneurs, and just asking, it's interesting because the first question is always how. But you and I know it's just such a split between the energetics and the mindset, and then the strategy and, all of that work. So I dance between, when I coach and mentor, between the two, because it is such a beautiful dance of, the feminine and the masculine energies and the energetics and the strategy. And so, yeah, that brought me to here in the now. And then this is where we are. And I've layered in another product that I'm really passionate about. But this is when I say like I'm multifaceted. I'm also a generator. So
Yeah, me
when
too.
something feels good, it's like those layers, and those layers get to feel good because we've been programmed to, do one thing for our entire career. But like, that's boring. No, thank you. So
I love it. There's another similarity that we have. I was also introduced to entrepreneurship and personal development sort of through network marketing. And so I saw an opportunity. I really desired to work for myself, and I loved my job, but I wanted my own thing. So I also said yes to network marketing. I had a different approach. I assumed that I'd go to the top, and I didn't. And so I had success, it was working in a way, but never like not quite there. And that's when I was introduced to Bob Proctor. And I thought that if I only added more hours to do reach outs, then my business would succeed. And I did that. I quit my job before my network marketing income had replaced it. And I was working really, really hard, but I still stayed at the same level. And I thought something was wrong with me. I then dove into personal development to fix me. That was the energy. And then I met Bob Proctor, and my mom dragged me to a seminar, and I heard him speak, and I knew that he knew something that I didn't know. The way that he talked about the mind, and he said, your way's not working, try mine. I'm like, you're right. And yep. Yes, please. Tell me what to do. And I was so focused on the doing. And then within 6 months, I tripled my income, and I started winning awards within Canada with the company. And I think it was number 3 for sponsoring. And it just it appeared to happen out of nowhere, that everyone was like, what has happened to you? And it was all inside. It was all mindset for me, because I had already been taking the action.
Right.
And I see that. I don't know if you notice that, with people, I notice they're not doing the thing that they know that they need to do. And then they need, both strategy and the action as well as the mindset. And then you get those people that are doing it, but they just aren't holding the image in their mind. They don't have the mindset the piece. They don't believe in themselves. And we really do need both. So I love how you brought that up.
Both. And so what was it? If you can look back, I know it's your podcast, but I love to ask questions. What was it that allowed for that quantum leap? Can you pinpoint exactly with Bob's work that just landed for you?
Yeah, it was the identity, the self-image work. So when I really broke it down and I was honest with myself, the voice inside my head, the way that I was treating myself was not positive. And every action that I was taking was never good enough. I would beat myself up. I nitpicked at my presentations, and I was just focused on what wasn't working, what was wrong, rather than what was right. And it's such a simple thing.
Yeah,
and that's why I think my results just quantum leaped, because it's simple, and at the same time, it's so powerful. Because if I continue to focus on what I don't want, I get more of that, and I get more reasons to beat myself up. And obviously that is really hard, energy to hold. And then I started focusing on what was and then built the image inside my mind that I was a leader within the company. And I started showing up that way as soon as the image on the inside. But for me, it was identity. Yeah. Self-image work.
Incredible. And we oftentimes think it has to be these radical transformations, but it clicked for you, and it was a micro shift that you made. And then you became the embodiment of that next level version of self, which is so beautiful. And, we've been programmed to believe it's that action. Yeah. So you already, just like me, I don't need motivation. I'm self-motivated. If I'm on a mission, I'm on a mission. But then those layers, those blind spots, if we can work through those constantly and be aware of them, gosh, that's where the quantum leaps happen. Yeah. And then the other side of it is then there's people just simply not taking the action, right? They're doing all the personal development work, but that consistency and those daily intentional inspired actions. And this is where I've really layered in the inspired action. So the way, I'm still a generator, I'm still who I am. I still love business and I love momentum, but bringing in consciously that energetics piece is like, if I don't feel like taking an action, I don't. Whereas before I would just like bulldoze through it.
Same.
But now it has to feel good. And when it feels good and you take that action, that energy generates results naturally, because that's when all those pieces connect and click and we become vibrational matches for the very things we desire. So that's kind of that, still am who I am, but it now just feels so much better and so much more in alignment with everything that I do.
And I would say that with that inspired action, there's such a gift there. Like if you're doing the mindset piece and you are, visualizing your goal achieved and you're taking time for self-care, meditation, reflection, then that already, like, you're putting yourself in the space of the goal achieved. Then when you relax, you're being open to ideas that come, and the ideas that come that light you up, and they might come out of nowhere. And that's, I think, sometimes where we could be too busy, where we miss them. That there's so much magic in those ideas when they just drop into your mind. It might be like a name of a person, or like even, a pull to like go to the bakery in the middle of the day. Intuition tells you like, I feel like this, and you get a nudge, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you follow it. You start to learn to really trust those nudges and take that inspired action. And I love, so this, the scientist, I think this is like the 1-3 line in my human design, but like noticing what happens next. Right. Yeah. So like, if I can train myself to listen, slow down and listen, and then notice the magic on the other side of that freaking lights me up. Like that's where and it feels so good. And it's like, my husband are like, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like going to the bakery. Right. And then that's where I meet, my next, whatever, ace or client, and doesn't seem to make sense, but there's such beauty in it. And that's the synchronicities,
Yes, the synchronicity piece of it. And there's science behind synchronicities. But we need to, and I feel like especially, high achieving women and high performance women, it's like, but we need to gift ourselves the space, the spaciousness to actually be able to receive those downloads. And that has also been that next evolution that I'm working through is, because I'm fueled by momentum and that energy, that oftentimes creates noise and clutter, and I'm unable to hear. And so recently I've been doing some fun work with a couple of women. One of them does soul sessions through color therapy using ancient Tao wisdom. And you basically go and see her with an intention. And then you use color therapy, which color is frequency, to unwind any blocks. And it was so evident that my next level is actually in the slowdown. It's simply being, it's being present. And so it's something that I resisted previously, but I'm so open to right now. And so this is where I can like feel the buzz of like, I desire to do this now. And then I can feel that quantum leap about to happen. But before, it used to be the programming of that's not productive.
Yeah.
If I am not doing, and if I am not taking action, then I'm not being productive, then I won't experience the success and the results. And it's like, that's been that next level of reprogramming that I've been diving into. And it's fascinating. Or even the, how I labeled feminine energy. That was deep programming that I didn't know until it was brought to my awareness. And then I dove deep. I'm like, what is for me the definition of the feminine? And then looking at it, it was hilarious. Actually, I did another soul session where we dove exactly into that. And I'll just share the definitions because it's fascinating. So I wrote down, so this is pre-clearing. Okay. So I wrote down the feminine. And again, there's no labeling, right? Like this is just what was coming to the surface for me, no judgment, but it's weak. It won't generate results. It's not powerful, wastes time. People will step all over you if you're just purely in your feminine. It's not productive, taken advantage of, boring, slow. And so I can look at that and be like, wow, well, of course, the 2010-ish evidence of success was competition, one woman at the top, you have to wear that pantsuit. Like that was our conditioning as women, that if we want to be successful, this is how we need to act. And then, as we know, that led to burnout. It led to stress and really nervous systems that weren't nourished, and they were on alert, and we weren't feeling safe and secure. And so I can see where that comes from.
Yeah.
And, just rewiring and creating a new definition. And so for me, it's like rebalancing these two energies within and coming into coherence with both of them. And there's a time and a place for both energies. And so now that new definition for me is feminine equals potential, especially because I have mostly been in my masculine, especially during my career. And she's nourished and present and intuitive and fulfilled and wildly successful in all areas because she's in overflow. She's extra productive as she's only focused on the right things, and it's receivership. And so I've been playing with that redefinition of, and it feels so good. And so now when I am starting my day in meditation, in visualization, it actually feels very productive. It feels like this is my portal to that next level of self. Yeah, but how crazy, right? Like all the shit that we carry with us, like.
It's so true. And I think for me, when I started to slow down, Bob would say, slow down to speed up. And I had the same feelings, like, I can't, like, where will the money come from? The same thoughts that you did. And then I noticed for myself that the money kept flowing, and in some periods, way more than it did in the action and the hustle. Yeah. And I bounce back, like, I go in different, like, where I trust in that. And then I like get a little freaked out. Like I, not fully there yet. And, I would then have to contemplate this guilt feeling of having the money flow even greater when I was doing less, because I recognized I was like, well, how can this be? Like, I see all these people or even employees are like working, and then I'm here meditating or going for a walk, right?
Yeah.
And so much of my worth had come from the hustle and being worthy of the money that was coming in. Well, of course, because look, I just put in a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
So that, like, for me was a huge, has been, and I'm still working on that, like releasing that programming myself.
And I bet you so many of us are, because it's just, and, even if we think about human design, like society's been created by generators for generators. And it's like, well, what about everybody else? Like, I can handle it, but does it feel in alignment? Does it feel nourishing? Well, as a woman and a mother and multifaceted human, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's like, this is our evidence of success. But I love the shift and so many women, like the conversations we're having is like, so many of us are this work in progress, and we are creating the new paradigm, and it gets to be like, we get to be in the overflow with doing less. And then this is where like this piece of like wealth in the hands of conscious heart-led women, like we will create a new reality for ourselves and everyone around, but also for our children and that next generation. It's so beautiful. And it's like, I talk about money a lot, because money, in like, the more wealth we can have, the more good we will do. And based on who we are as humans and the work that we're doing. And it's a ripple effect of impact and freedom. And like, let's enjoy the juiciness of this lifetime.
Yeah. And when abundance is our birthright, when it's our natural state to be abundant, why not have it all flow as much as possible to us? We do the inner work. So it's just there, and unkink the money hose, and money's a magnifier. So, we trust that we are good people. And so it magnifies who we already are. And we can change the world. The impact comes with the money. Because like, I think our time, we can make impact with our time and the people that we touch, and that's limited. We can do a lot more with money. Yeah, I agree. You're speaking on the right podcast, the Prosperity Podcast. We talk about money all the time. I wanted to share a tool that I learned that from Bob, actually. He had me do the opposite. So every moment that I felt like I needed to go work and hustle, he said, when that thought comes, like if I notice something not working in my world and my physical results, to then go sit somewhere, go in the backyard, sit, or on my bed, close my eyes for 5 minutes and visualize and meditate and have a quiet practice. And he said, if that needs to happen like 10 times a day, do it 10 times a day. And it won't feel logical and it'll really feel uncomfortable because all you'll want to do is go fix it through your action. But he's like, I want you to actually not, and notice the shift that happens, because the what shift does happen in your physical world is actually a result of the spiritual side of you and not the action you take.
Wow. So every time we feel there's no flow, there's resistance, things aren't working the way maybe we had envisioned, to like stop, pause, and go into nature, into wherever we can find a quiet moment, 5 minutes. Oh,
yeah, because normally the mind will be like, oh, it's not working, I better send an email.
Yes.
Right. So we go
pushing.
Totally.
Yeah. Incredible.
And so many times it feels like it's really uncomfortable to do it. Like, and I'm like, but no, I know that if I send the email, it will lead to a different result. There's so much juice, so much magic in when we surrender to that and connect to our truth.
I love that. And also being moms and entrepreneurs, this is another thing I've really worked on. When the guilt would come in, like, well, I'm building my business, but I'm not present with my children, or I'm present with my children, I'm thinking about that email. So that has been another, incredible journey. And I feel like I can finally say, like, right now I'm in a place that feels really good. And it's creating those boundaries, but in those boundaries, those moments of presence are infused throughout the day. And so when I'm like, right now, my firm boundary, and there's times where we, allow things to slip through. And this is a gray zone. And this is, again, it's not about perfection. It's about the journey that we're on and embracing and celebrating ourselves. But, when I pick up my girls at school, then it's like I've been leaving the phone in the office, and my evidence is no one dies if Anna doesn't respond. Yeah. If I respond the next morning, it's totally okay. And it's like, it's just been having fun, and then being present with them and just fully being in, like tapping into that frequency of play and presence and pleasure. And it's funny because my husband bought this game on Amazon. I think it's called like Cornhole or something. You're like throwing bags. Yeah. And every day after dinner, we've been playing cornhole, but the girls were like, focus on your end result. You want that beanbag to go into the hole. And my girls are like holding the beanbag, and they're literally whispering their affirmations, like, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're going in the hole. And it's like, it's fascinating how all these things we've been practicing, they're translating into our children, and they're just such sponges, and they're so receptive. Like when we launched Love Powered Co., like the affirmations just became a part of the practice, and we still do them at the dinner table every single evening, and it's just simply a part of what they do. And I've brought in a new tool called the Healy into the home, and they naturally gravitate towards the frequency. Like there's no question, how adults, how does it work, what is it, what is the science behind it? The kids are like, yeah, give me frequencies. There's such open channels, and it's we need that moment and that presence and that being with them to allow them to also be our teachers moment by moment.
Yeah, it's such a gift. I wrote a quote that I have in a coffee table book that is just being published. It's called Potentiality. It says, my presence is my power.
Yes.
And there's such a gift in the presence. I'll share something that I coached our clients to do this week that I'd love your perception on, just what brings it up. What brings it up for you. So the idea is that you take yourself 20 years from now. So how old would your kids be 20 years from now? Your two girls?
27 and 25.
Okay, 27 and 25. So 20 years from now, imagine if the Anna 20 years from now comes back today, time travels, and joins you in the now and actually lives out the rest of her day. So you're about to just pick up your girls from school this afternoon. How does that Anna 20 years from the future respond to your girls with the wisdom, the lessons? So they're 25, 27 now. Maybe they're not living at home. Maybe they've been away for a few weeks. You haven't seen them. Like, I just got goosebumps.
I have goosebumps too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting because right away I go back, like I bring myself to my mid to late 20s. And I remember just really rushing the process. Like I wanted the results, I wanted the success. And I was in that grind and that, just constant, I couldn't be present. It was always focused on that goal, and that goal achieved was always the next. And so, the wisdom really would be like, what does your heart desire right now? And go for it. It's to travel the world. It's to learn how to fly an airplane. It's to launch a business. Like, what is it? Let's do it. And I'm here to fully support you and your wildest dreams. Like, the now is what we have.
Yeah, that's so cool. I really noticed for myself, how it changed my ability to be present. So it was one of the tools that I used, because I thought, okay, well, she's not there every day. Some of the things we take for granted, and just like the wisdom and the patience, and that 20-year older version of me gave me a lot of wisdom in the now, and like what the priorities, like the thing you're thinking about doesn't actually matter. You've achieved that. There's no reason to do that,
That presence and patience, like that right there is the gold. And, especially when the kids are young and, it's hard, where it feels like we're not speaking the same language, but it's also understanding that their brain development is right now is what it is. And that's going to change and shift. And so for me, it's constantly that reminder of just patience, and just holding space. And it's also a lot of work I'd done around that, because when I was 6 years old, there was chaos. There was uncertainty. There was a lot of, especially when it came to money, like, we had to get food at the food banks, and we shopped at Goodwill, and there was a lot of that. So the nervous system, like that safety and security piece was missing, which caused a lot of stress for my parents. And so, the work that I've also done is like just loving on my 6-year-old Anna. And it's interesting because that's the age of my daughters right now. And what I realized, and Dr. Shafali, I bought her new book, and it was one sentence. And after I read that one sentence, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to read the rest of the book. I feel like I got what I needed. And it was like, your reaction to the present moment has nothing to do with the present moment, but it brings you back to whatever that seed was, that experience for you, whatever was planted in a certain moment in time in your childhood. And so for me, because, there was a lot of chaos and uncertainty and stress, anytime my girls would have a tantrum or that elevated noise, that yelling or screaming, right? Like I could feel my, just adrenals, like just shooting up, and that adrenaline. And it brought me to that place of not feeling safe and secure. So I've always had a hard time with tantrums and yelling, and, where they just, in the present moment, they just are unable to regulate their emotions.
Yeah.
And it's insane. But, after those 2-3 minutes of them getting that energy out, they go on to the next thing. And I'm sitting there like, I just got blasted, right? And it's so fascinating, this journey that we're on. But now I'm aware of this.
Yeah.
And so now I'm able to, give love to 6-year-old Anna and remind her that she's safe and secure and all is well and all is working out. And at the same time, just hold space for my girls, because I also understand that emotions need to be released. Because if they're not, that's when that suppression happens and comes off as disease or, trauma or whatever on the other side. And so it's like, This whole thing is just such a
so
journey.
It is. I know. I was thinking though, when you described your 6-year-old self, how does it feel to have completely changed your family's story around money? Because your 6-year-old self didn't feel safe and secure because of the situation you were in, and because of the work that you've done on yourself, you've completely changed the paradigm. The family, your children won't experience that. And normally, we were talking offline, like the way our parents program us, and they did their best, but they can't give what they don't have. So they programmed you in that way, but you've changed the narrative. You've literally changed your family's legacy because of the work that you've done on the inside. Let's talk about that.
Woo, you just brought tears to my eyes. Yeah. And again, I'm a work in progress. It's not, I don't have it all figured out, but somehow my brother and I were led to this work, and we both, really changed. And again, this brings us back to Eastern Europe and just Poland having suffered so much for so many generations that it's ingrained in us. Well, at least it was. And we know that we get to change, and epigenetics tells us, and we get to, change. And so, it feels really good. It feels incredible. And that's why I'm so committed and devoted to this work, because we all get to create a new reality for ourselves and for our children and the future generations. And it's not easy, because the easy thing to do is to not face any of this.
Yeah.
It's just to continue blindly. So this is the hard work, but it's so rewarding. And, I'm a mother in this lifetime for a reason. And I just couldn't see myself doing it any other way, because it's a big responsibility, in my opinion. And this is why, the commitment and that devotion to constant evolution is so important for me.
Yeah, that's huge. And you said something like, we get to change. Any one of us, every one of us, once you make the decision that is no longer your story, and you can change the paradigm and therefore change the legacy of your family. It's really build a legacy for your family. I think that some people listening might be like, that might be the first question for themselves. Like, can I really do that? Am I the one? Or, maybe that's for my brother or my sister to do. It's like claiming that you actually are the one. And I would say that if you're here listening and you have that desire, then that's your proof. Right there. You've attracted that.
And once you make that decision, then all the portals open. That's when the book falls off the shelf. That's when the coach and the mentor lands. Like for me, that was, you were born rich.
Yeah. It's so cool that we both have Bob.
And it's free on YouTube now. It's like, we talked about before offline on like even Bob's teacher and, like going back to the greats and the wisdom that they brought for our generation. It's absolutely incredible. But once you open yourself up, so you decide that you're ready for your own expansion and your own evolution, then everything starts to show up step by step. And I feel like, the overwhelm comes with like, wow, it's going to be a big journey. And how will I ever get there? Well, step by step, it's like this constant unpacking. And we never arrive,
Totally.
Recently, I did another fascinating session, and I really resonated with this woman because she's Polish and married to a Mexican living in Mexico. I was like, okay, I love you already. I'm married to a Mexican. And she has a powerful gift. Her gift came through after she had spinal surgery. And what she does is goes through her past lives and looks at, those seeds that were imprinted that you have brought into this lifetime that no longer serves you. And there was two main themes in my past lives. And one was around this programming that men are the only ones that get to be successful.
Wow.
And I was like, holy, this makes so much sense, and in one lifetime, I was a mother, I was a lawyer, but I never got to practice law because I had 5 children. But I always felt this resentment that my husband gets to be successful. He gets to create, he gets to build wealth, and I'm just a mother. And I can see, I can see it. I can see that very clearly. And so again, it's that awareness of being super present and super connected because I desire the best for my children. But it's like, wow, that is a seed that I have brought through, and maybe why I've been in my masculine energy for so long, right? Like it just all makes sense. And then, another seed, and this one was wild, blew my mind, but I was oftentimes men in past lives. And in this lifetime, my family was very simple. It was just me, my mother, my father. We barely had anything. We had no money. We just had a couple farm animals, and I would fish and catch fish for dinner. And one time one afternoon, I came home to my dad hysterically crying that my mom had taken some herbs and she had poisoned herself. And my dad was begging me to take, whatever we had and to go find a doctor. And I found a doctor, and he wouldn't come because I had no money. And so when I came back home, my mom had passed. And so in that moment, I lost my mom and my dad, because my dad just, he blamed me for not being able to bring the doctor to the home. And the imprint from that lifetime is, and this is fascinating, is that money equals safety and security, which I believed, like that was a conscious awareness in this lifetime, that money equals safety and security. But it's deeper than that. It's money. If I don't have money, people will die. Wow. So it was that deeper layer of the consciousness. Like I'm very aware that in this lifetime, money does equal safety and security for me. But look at that extra layer that brought up to the surface. And so it's such fascinating work. And, I love all these modalities. And
I was going to say that would also lead to the fear, like you've driven by fear to always have money. So you were driven by the avoidance of not having it. And so doing whatever it takes, and the willingness to work, hard, because that would be, you want to avoid not having it because it means death.
Yes. And then that energy never led to overflow. It always led to just enough, like very comfortable, but not an overflow. And so really the coming back into this alignment of the feminine and the masculine energies, and really doing things differently, because the being and the presence and the non-working is the discomfort for me.
Yeah, me too.
But that has brought in the overflow. And then, as you mentioned, it's like then being comfortable in the overflow, which is another layer of work. And then, allowing that overflow then to compound and grow exponentially, and feeling safe and secure in that. And so we all come with, and I was working with a client, and she's an incredible woman and she does so well, but what we entangled for her is that for her, success and wealth meant responsibility, because that's when everyone from her family would come and ask for money. Right. So oftentimes, there's that other side, is like, we can block wealth and abundance because of what that will mean. Totally. And that is too much responsibility for us to handle. So that kind of work too. So it's bringing up to the surface, if you're being called to this work, like, what is it for you? And oftentimes, and then trying to get really deeper and looking at, is there another layer that we can unravel? Because for me, that's just been so fascinating.
Yeah, same with me. And I love untangling where we have money tangled with something else, like hard work. Or at the moment, I'm working with quite a few clients on the spirituality and money. Like, it's not, if your spiritual money is not aligned with that, which I don't believe to be true at all. And it's fun to find the root cause, like, and just release and let go, and then evolve, grow, and then there's something else that comes to our awareness. It's never ending, but that's the beautiful part of it all. I find it also fascinating, like all this, the similarities as women in this work right now. There's such a movement. I really believe that the world needs us as conscious leaders, and I'm grateful to be doing this work. And at one point, I remember it feeling so alone. I was so alone. And now it's like, I look around and there's another woman to talk to about her journey and just connect on that level and know that we're all in it together. And I think there's a lot of sisterhood wounds being healed in that as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating with, I see the shift in business going really from that lone wolf energy, that, competition, especially amongst women. That was probably created by men. I mean, just saying, but it's coming into this collaboration and this like deep embodiment of there's more than enough for every single one of us. And just because, we may be teaching very similar concepts and embodiment work, I mean, because we are who we are, it makes us unique. And so we can collaborate, and the clients that are meant to be attracted to your work will be, and the ones that I'm meant to magnetize will be magnetized to me. And it's like, we get to co-create and we get to have overflow in that as well. So that's been a beautiful shift in business, because I've kind of gone through it, 13 years in entrepreneurship through both, like the more, lone solo competition. And now this it just feels like home, and women are just such natural nurturers and community builders and family oriented that it makes sense that we do work this way.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I was thinking also, if we understand consciousness, that each of us are our own creators, and we get whatever is here in our mindset, that's literally the projection, then where would the competition come from? Because each one of us is a center of divine operation, as Thomas Schroeder would say, right? So like, just because I have my clients doesn't mean you don't have yours, or my million's yours. Like, they're not in competition. So it's such even when you think of it from what we know about manifestation, it doesn't even make any sense.
It makes no sense. Yeah. And it feels so good to do it this way, right? So then the better we feel, the more we get to experience that abundance, and for all of us.
Yeah, that's great. I want to, before we wrap, bring up the device I see you wearing. For those of you on the podcast, you won't see it on Anna, but she has a device hooked up to her right now that's helping her with her energy. You might feel this beautiful frequency vibration coming from this beautiful soul. Tell me a little bit about what you're wearing.
Yeah, so I'm wearing the Healy, and Healy started dropping into my awareness about a year ago. And, there was fascination, there was curiosity. And I talk about oftentimes when we teach the energetics and we teach the frequency, it likes to live in the mind. It likes to stay there. And I've seen through my own evidence that once it becomes an embodiment and who we are, and living from the space of, an elevated energetic frequency, things start to come together faster. We get to manifest faster. We get to attract and magnetize. And really, it's mind blowing. So this is a device that was created 4 years ago by a quantum physicist named Marcus Schmieke, who then decided, so he started studying quantum physics at the age of 16. And then he felt there was something deeper and decided to study consciousness. So then he became a Vedic monk for 12 years. And he created a product called Time Waver. And Time Waver delivers microcurrent frequencies, but it's big and bulky, and you have to go see a practitioner to receive the microcurrent therapy. And then he decided with two co-founders to invent the Healy, which is a personal, portable, wearable frequency device that works on all aspects, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, with the intention of bringing us back into coherence, into alignment. And this is where, the optimal health lives, and the vitality and the wellness, but also where that magnetism lies, right? Where
prosperity.
Super manifestors and abundance and overflow and prosperity. It's in the state of coherence in this elevated frequency. And so I decided, because I love business, that about me, I love launching, scaling companies. And so also it was an opportunity to bring this into the Canadian market. So I thought, like, wow, this is ancient wisdom in a future technology. And that future is right now. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to discover the secrets of the universe, think in terms of vibration, energy, and frequency. And so that future is now. And yeah, I've been working with it and using it for the last 10 months. And it has truly been the way I explain it is it's quantum leaping.
Yeah.
Like it brings the shit to the surface that needs to rise to be released. And then those synchronicities, that flow, that alignment. And yeah, it's been incredible.
So I've been using it for the past 2 weeks. And the quote that comes to mind for me is match the frequency of your desire. This is Einstein. When you match the frequency of your desire, you can't help but get that desire. And this is not philosophy, this is physics. And so I've was completely fascinated by this device when I was introduced to it. And I'm finding that the same experience that you have just explained about quantum leaping and being coherence and the synchronicities have just been beautiful. I had no idea that there could be something outside of myself that could help me get back into alignment. I've always used tools that Bob's taught, affirmations and mirror work and writing and visualization. And I've paired this device with that. The visualization is on a whole nother level. I'm picking different programs to use it, but just like the ideas that have come, when we talked about inspired action, that's what's been happening. I've just had these downloads, these ideas drop, and I take fast action. And it's like, I can almost see, I can't see yet, but I can see the universe like lining things up, going click, 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 here we go. Just like follow my lead. And I've been way more productive. I've made things happen. I'm about to go to Mexico, and I've lined up a dream retreat for myself that should have been like literally, if you saw it on paper, like months in the making and not possible to make happen in a few days. And it's all happened. So I wanted to make sure that we got to tell people about that in our conversation today.
I just want to add to that, all the tools we have. The visual that I had right before I said, before I partnered with this company, I was like, all those tools, it still means I'm doing the doing.
Totally.
And I was like, enough with the doing.
Yeah.
I've gotten enough signs that the being is my next quantum leap. And so now I'm able to leverage these frequencies that are doing. So this is why I call it my little personal frequency assistant, because she's doing the work. And it's not that I'm not doing any of the other work. Of course I am. It's part of who I am. It's part of my rituals and my embodiment. But this is also doing the powerful work behind the scenes for me.
And couldn't we see it as like, this might be too simple of an explanation. And I think there's something here to like a tuning fork. And we, that tunes instruments, like instruments calibrate to that tune, right? And so if this is emitting frequencies, and aren't we just aligning with that, like tuning into that? So if I choose the prosperity program, the abundance program, or a different, I love doing the chakra ones. Aren't I just attuning myself to clear that and to become aligned? Like it makes so much sense to me.
It does. And you could probably do that all by yourself with you doing, but now you're leveraging this powerful tool to support you with it. Like, doesn't that just feel so nourishing, especially for women like us?
Yeah. Yeah. So for everyone listening, Anna and I have partnered with another woman that I know from the Bob Proctor world, Celeste. She was in our program, and I'll put the link in the show notes, as well as Anna has a program that we'll mention here. So let us know what that's all about.
Yeah, so it just feels really in alignment with this conversation. And I have a 3-day program that you can access right away. It's called the Quantum Wealth Codes, where we talk about the energetics of money, the energetics of abundance, and the energetics of selling, because I know selling is another topic of conversation that makes a lot of women uncomfortable. And I really desire for women to fall in love with selling, especially, and it's fascinating because oftentimes the women that say, I don't want to be that creepy salesperson, they're so far from that, that thought. I'm like, but you are just not that person. So that way it'll never come off that way. And so, yes, that's an incredible 3-day program you can access right away. It's worth 333 and we can gift it for free to everybody listening.
Thank you. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your time today in this beautiful conversation. We went in all sorts of directions,
I love it. That's
which was so great.
Thank you for having me.
Any last words for our listeners?
I would just conclude that a remembrance that we're all energy. And so whether we want to or not, our energy, and you said that your daughter uses the word boomerang in the pre-show talk, but our energy is being emitted out and it is boomeranging back to us in, opportunities, people, experiences, things that hold a like vibration. And so choose your frequency wisely and allow your mind to be blown, allow your heart to be expanded, and a reminder that we are worthy of it all. And our time is now.
So good. Thank you. Well, I'm grateful for the boomerang that brought us together in this life and to have conversations like this. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and your energy. It's such a beautiful feeling to be in your presence. So please keep being the light in this world.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
For all of you listening, please go follow Anna. We'll put all of her details in the show notes. And for now, we'll leave you with expect abundance. Thank you.